Chapter 156, Mysterious Pothole, Part 3. The stone wall was dry and smooth, different from what Lu Shu had in mind. Under normal circumstances, such stone holes gave the impression that they would be ominously damp and cold, full of growing moss. As the 300 people made their way down to more than 50 meters, the walls started showing some weird patterns, as if it was a drawing some sort of mysterious map, but no one could interpret the meaning behind it. Initially, everyone thought that the pothole would be extremely dark, but to their surprise, these patterns were emitting some light, lighting up the entire bottom of the pothole. Lu Shu was rather curious. This pothole was 100 meters deep, and since there was already light here, why couldn't they notice the light from on top? Something's amiss, something's amiss. Everyone came to the bottom of the pothole. There was another route here, and a stone gate at the lowest point of the pothole. And in the circular well at the deepest part of the pothole, the bodies of the 8 missing men of the heavenly network laid here. There were no signs of a brutal death. These 8 men were arranged with one of them at the center. The rest of them surrounded him and were seated upright on the floor. The 7 surrounding corpses had blood in their 7 orifices, faces pale as sheets. The one in the middle, however, had a normal complexion. Although this one was strange, he was still dead. There was no sign of life at all, he couldn't be more dead. The corpses were stiff and the time of death could not be estimated. It was probably some dark spell. Li Yixiao frowned. Why would they experiment with dark spells? Look, their entire team is dead. Alright, let's not care about them since they're dead. Everyone looked at Li Yixiao in confusion. It must have been better if Zhong Yutong came down as well. It was so obvious that this group of people was killed by some other force instead of simply killing themselves. But at this moment, Li Yixiao was already advancing towards the stone gate, and everyone had no choice but to follow. Within it was yet another environment. The landscape became much wider, and within the stone gate was actually a mountain of tens of meters tall. On top of it were shiny objects much like magical stones. And ahead of them in about 1,000 meters was a huge site which looked like it occupied massive plots of land. It looked extremely majestic. As everyone came in, the stone gate shut itself. Suddenly, the objects on top of the mountain started coming alive. Only then did everyone realize that each one was a soul-like, translucent ghost. Everyone had goosebumps upon this sight, so many of them. A ghost dashed down towards Li Yixiao like a waterfall, but the tiger sign from Li Yixiao appeared once more and Li Yixiao's huge fist went out flying. The ferocious tiger on his back roared alive and pounced ahead together with his fist. At this instant, his fist destroyed the ghost. But at the next instant, numerous ghosts flew down like a waterfall and flooded everyone. Everyone tried their best to kill the ghosts around themselves. No one knew how these ghosts were different within this remains. They actually had solid bodies and could cause physical injuries when they dashed into people. But if it was merely this, then it was all right. At least they weren't like the skeletons whose single spear could kill a person. But it was quite troublesome if there were so many of them. Initially, everyone was worried if this ghost could possess them or affect them mentally. But now, they could relax, these ghosts were not that scary. Everyone was trying their best to kill the ghosts around them. But Lu Shu was confused all of a sudden. This huge wave of ghosts had blanketed their whole group and he was nervous at the start, but soon after, he realized that his corpse dog was sending roars constantly and these ghosts were not targeting him at all and were attacking the others instead. If he was alone here, he would definitely be happy. He's invincible. But the problem was that he wasn't alone. What if someone else notices his special ability? Why was everyone being attacked but Lu Shu seemed like their ally instead? Why did no one attack him? This was very troubling. Lu Shu looked over at the situation of the others and started to imitate everyone else. He started to flail his weapons like everyone else. With 2 spears on his back, he grabbed a spear using each hand and chased after the ghosts. At this point in time, apart from Li Yixiao and the Class D experts, the Class E practitioners were having some trouble as the number of ghosts was really too overwhelming. Lu Shu could help others kill some ghosts and the others were amazed. This Dao Yuan student was so powerful. He was so passionate and ferocious, even chasing after ghosts. He was like a god of war. As things were, he looked more competent than those Class D experts. Could it be that strength-type metahumans below Class C were really the strongest compared to other types? Lu Shu pondered over what he should do. He was in despair as well. If he didn't chase after ghosts, his surroundings would be empty. Luckily, it wasn't just him who was like that. Those Class D experts also went wherever danger was present. While in Lu Shu's case, he just went to where the ghosts were. From the ghost's distress, +1+1+1+1. Wherever Lu Shu passed by, a large wave of distress points would be contributed by the ghosts in the area. They were absolutely dumbfounded. Aren't we avoiding you? What are you doing? But at this moment, Lu Shu discovered something he had never encountered before. As these ghosts were being killed, a weird energy was being absorbed by the corpse dog within his celestial map. All that energy went into corpse dog through the celestial map. Was this absorbing the energy of the ghosts? He didn't have this experience when he killed Chang Hengyue and the skeletons. This was the first time he was experiencing it. Then, that huge power residing within corpse dog suddenly shifted and it appeared in the form of a black-colored pearl, which floated above the celestial map. Lu Shu's heart skipped a beat. He discovered yet another ability of the corpse dog. This was a message from the corpse dog to him. This pearl was actually given to the ghosts to consume so that he could rear ghosts. Was it for the ghosts to eat? Then wasn't this food for the souls which Lu Xiaoyu caught? What would happen if they ate them? Would it allow the souls conjured by Lu Xiaoyu to be stronger? Lu Shu wasn't to blame for thinking about Lu Xiaoyu at this point as the link between their abilities was actually very obvious. But, his corpse dog could kill and rear ghosts at the same time. What was the exact relation between Lu Xiaoyu and his own abilities? Chapter 157, Hidden Danger, Part 4, let's not talk about the uses of the pearl first. To Lu Shu, if there were any benefits to be gained, he would be especially enthusiastic. Seeing that everyone was trying to hold their own ground and kill the ghosts, Lu Shu was already sprinting frantically along with the other Class D experts. The gold chains around his neck were emitting jingles and he exuded an air of extravagance. It was a sight to behold. The rest were envious of Lu Shu's strength as a Class E strength type. And on the other hand, the sight of the gold chains around his neck was annoying them. Those were originally theirs. Everyone had been fighting for their lives ever since coming into this domain, but this scum seemed to be on a holiday. Wait, going on a holiday meant that a tour guide would bring you to shops and every time you visited a shop, your money would reduce while the tour guide would be earning loads of commission. Lu Shu wasn't a tourist, he was a tour guide. Recalling what Lu Shu said when he set up his stall yesterday, it basically had the same meaning as what a tour guide would say. I have many local delights you guys can purchase. Don't worry, the prices here are definitely cheaper than the local supermarkets. $10, you'd regret not buying. From Lu Xuanyu's distress, +55. From. At this moment, Lu Shu suddenly noticed the appearance of a pale figure. It was a Heavenly Network combat personnel he had seen before. Wait, more accurately, outside the stone gate, in the pothole, he was the spy that was surrounded by the rest of the spies. A scream was heard as this spy's blurry figure buried his hand into the back of a Heavenly Network member. His pale palm was like a sharp knife, instantly killing that person. His movements were extremely fast. Lu Shu frowned and wanted to head over there. But that spy had once again disappeared. So that dark ritual he saw earlier wasn't that simple. Did those people sacrifice their lives for the one in the middle to turn into spiritual form? Everyone looked in the direction of the scream, but they were too late. Li Yixiao frowned and the fierce tiger mark on his back suddenly emitted a blinding light which lit up the entire underground space. At this moment, Li Yixiao let out a roar of anger as if he was a tiger in the mountains. All the ghosts were swept up like a tornado and each and every one was turned into ashes. This is the true strength of a Class B heavenly king. Someone saw the annihilated ghosts and the whole world seemed to have been cleansed. But it wasn't easy on Li Yixiao. It was the first time Lu Shu saw Li Yixiao exhibiting signs of fatigue. When he was previously attacked by over 10 Class C experts simultaneously, he wasn't tired at all. No wonder he was conserving this move that could wipe out all the ghosts. It was only after seeing his own man getting injured, he was enraged and unleashed this killer move. But that spy had left a trauma in everyone's hearts. Li Yixiao slowly walked to his deceased teammate and asked in a deep voice, "What happened?" He was too focused on dealing with the ghost and failed to notice what had happened. Someone said, "I saw the spy who was surrounded in the middle. He had turned into a blurry figure similar to these ghosts, but his movements and strength are stronger. I think he's now as strong as a top-level Class C." His name back in the Heavenly Network was Zhao Haiping and had Class D strength. Whether or not he hid his true strength, I'm not sure. Lu Shu had a thought. The main problem with Zhao Haiping wasn't his peak Class C strength. This kind of strength was nothing in front of Li Yixiao as there was a vast difference between a Class B and C. If there were many Class CS, they could team up against a Class B, but in a 1v1 scenario, the Class C wouldn't stand a chance. But turning into a ghost in this place was an overwhelming advantage. The other ghosts would attack the Heavenly Network but not this spy. And what's the deal with this dark ritual? He can actually turn invisible. Is this some kind of unique ninja skill? There's a disgusting truth about the features of the Japanese being very similar to the Chinese. Beijing News previously reported that the officials estimated about 10,000 plus Japanese having infiltrated China. And the book Self-Defense Forces Secret Intelligence Agencies, known as the Qingtong Soldiers, was the revelation of an SDF member that hid in China for 37 years. And his main responsibility was to spy on the military situation and to even attempt at taking up an important position. Many spies were slowly assimilated into the local culture, but one thing that never changed was their original intention. Zhong Yutong wasn't to be blamed for not checking thoroughly. The truth was that the other parties had never planned to enter the Heavenly Network and were previously hidden within the army. It was after the dawn of the magical era when these people with awakening aptitude were chosen to join the Heavenly Network. But there were also a few spies within the squad that did not have any awakening aptitude. Everyone was feeling anguished and was desperate to quickly find a method to find this spy and take revenge. But half a day's thinking came to no avail. At this moment, Lu Shu suddenly felt something not right. The corpse dog within his celestial map was giving off a dragon-like screech, as though it wanted to escape from the left side. Lu Shu was confused. There's nothing on the left. Wait. Lu Shu immediately thrust his spear towards his left. Everyone was stunned, but at this moment, the spear within Lu Shu's hand seemed to have struck something. Everyone witnessed the spy called Zhao Haiping reappearing after being stabbed in the face. He's appeared. They were still thinking of ways to find him, but he was already beaten into reappearing. From AI Sayama's Distress, plus 666. Li Yixiao was about to make a move, but the spy did not seem to have taken any damage and immediately turned invisible again. Li Yixiao gauged and threw out a punch in a direction but didn't hit anything. Everyone, not knowing what to say, looked at Lu Shu while Li Yixiao asked, "How did you find him?" Lu Shu was lost for words. He had no idea that such a thing would happen, and why was that Zhao Haiping standing beside him? Lu Shu thought for a moment, "I doubt you will believe that I just casually struck there. But that's the truth." From AI Sayama's Distress, plus 999. Chapter 158, A Familiar Sight, Part 1. Everyone stared at Lu Shu silently and felt that something was definitely not right. But they couldn't pinpoint what was wrong. Logically, if Li Yixiao didn't have any way of making the spy reveal himself, what could a Class E strength type do? And so no one really believed that Lu Shu could accurately determine the location of the spy. But amidst all these was a very strange feeling. Lu Shu was troubled. He couldn't explain himself after managing to hit this Xiao Haiping. Li Yixiao was curious, was it really by luck? Lu Shu was speechless, yes, really. How can a Class E strength type like me have a method of finding him? Lu Shu saw that Li Yixiao still had a doubtful look and casually pointed towards a direction. Come, let me try again. There's no way it can happen again. Before he finished his sentence, Li Yixiao had thrown out a punch the moment Lu Shu lifted up his finger. His fist created a large force which headed towards the direction Lu Shu pointed at. Boom. Everyone was stunned. The place of impact appeared the spy called Xiao Haiping, who was hit by the force of the punch. He did not expect this punch at all and wasn't prepared for it. Before the force of the punch reached him, Xiao Haiping felt like his entire body was placed under extreme pressure, rooting him at the spot. From AI Sayama's Distress, plus 999. Seeing the Li Yixiao had started moving, he knew that he had to escape. Staying there might be fatal. From the start, Xiao Haiping was wondering if this wearing a bunch of gold chains guy could actually see him. Li Yixiao and the rest watched as the spy was blasted into the air like a loose kite before turning invisible again. They then turned towards Lu Shu, and there was a momentary silence. Lu Shu, Xiao Haiping, I've so many vulgarities I'd like to hurl at you. He agonized. This time, he had really pointed to a random position and Xiao Haiping was far enough that the corpse dog did not react to him. Lu Shu was basically cursing and swearing at Xiao Haiping in his heart. Lu Shu had his suspicions if Xiao Haiping was risking his life to frame Lu Shu. Why the heck were you standing there? At this moment, silence enveloped the entire underground palace. Everyone was staring at Lu Shu speechlessly when Li Yixiao suddenly said, "Why not, point again. Point your mum." Lu Shu pointed at several other spots, but Li Yixiao couldn't find any more traces of the spy. Lu Shu didn't even receive any more distress points from the spy and reckoned that he must have fled. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Although they still couldn't confirm if Lu Shu could pinpoint the location of the spy, it was more logical that he couldn't. Before anyone had time to think, the huge palace gate suddenly opened and a general clad in black armor walked out slowly, dragging a long spear behind him. From afar, a black dragon could be seen circling the shaft of the spear. The sound of the long spear being dragged was deafening, causing all the Heavenly Network experts some discomfort. After this person walked out, a few hundred soldiers clad in armor walked out from the palace. Their faces were all hidden under their armor and their steps were synchronized perfectly, giving off a grim and murderous vibe. This scene placed even Li Yixiao on his toes as they heard the general coldly spoke, "You dare to intrude my palace? Since you're here, you can stay here forever." The voice was coarse and ferocious. Although it was the language of humans, it didn't sound like a human's voice. The other party was confident and emitting an intense ghostly aura. But Li Yixiao laughed coldly, "If you want to make me stay, you'd have to prove yourself worthy." Li Yixiao lowered his voice, "Leave him to me. Don't fight him head-on. The long spear he's holding is probably the relic. The remains would disappear after I've taken that from him. Be careful, what if someone urged. He's not as strong as me," Li Yixiao said indifferently. At this moment, this fatty was emitting an overwhelmingly strong aura. The Heavenly Network also had little understanding about relics as remains were unheard of before the magical era. But Nie Ting had obtained Xianting, and Xianting was a relic. Finishing his sentence, Li Yixiao leaped forward. The relic, which was their main target, was right in front of them. After all that effort, there was no reason to retreat. Furthermore, the other party wasn't as strong. At this moment, Li Yixiao's extreme confidence imposed a pressure in the entire palace, suppressing the ghostly aura. A punch was thrown and the majestic tiger behind him pounced forward. the opponent's black dragon was also alive and fought the fearsome tiger. The huge battle had commenced and the 300-plus practitioners held tightly onto their weapons, following behind Li Xiao. The black soldiers suddenly moved and drew their swords simultaneously. The sound of their sword drawing echoed through the palace. Each and every black soldier was hidden under thick armor. Even their faces were covered by their helmets. They were like 100 over emotionless war machines. Seeing that Li Xiao was battling the enemy general, everyone within 100 meters was spirited but couldn't get close. Lu Shu was shocked, so this is a true expert. For some reason, he suddenly felt that Li Xiao belonged to a higher level. Frankly speaking, Lu Shu had a hard time seeing Li Xiao with the rest of the actual experts, but it seemed like Lu Shu shouldn't be too casual when interacting with Li Xiao in the future. He was a heavenly king after all. But at this moment, Lu Shu's eyes lit up. When the opponent had missed its attack and the spear was in the air, Li Xiao grabbed onto the spearhead. The general clad in black armor looked coldly at the fatty in front. This fatty was almost drooling at the sight of the long spear. Let go. With the flick of the wrist, a huge power coursed through the shaft of the spear and a green dragon pounced at Li Xiao, attacking him with its bite. But Li Xiao refused to let go. It was the first time he saw such an exquisite long spear, and it looked as though it possessed an endless amount of power. And this long spear was the relic itself, which meant that if he could take it away, the remains would disappear. This was a more effective method than wasting the strength to kill. Both parties held onto the long spear, refusing to let go. The originally intense fight had suddenly turned comical. Lu Xuanyu suddenly thought that this scene was familiar. Chapter 159, Lu Xiaoyu's Complaints, Part 2. Over 100 armored soldiers were approaching and Lu Shu had already readied his spear but didn't throw it. This was because he wasn't sure of their strength, and what if the spear did nothing to these armored soldiers? Wouldn't that be awkward? When the melee soldiers from both sides collided, it was Zhao Qingxi who stood out. For some reason, all the armored soldiers that came into close proximity of her were suddenly slowed down. This was the first time Lu Shu saw Zhao Qingxi in battle, and he felt a sense of admiration for her. Each and every move of hers was smooth and with ease and precision. Lu Shu suddenly felt a tug at his hair as he turned over. It was the little squirrel which had woken up and was standing nervously on his shoulder, terrified. Pulling at Lu Shu's hair, the little squirrel buried its head in his hair. "Are you that scared?" Lu Shu was amused. Previously, this little *T was throwing rocks at him and fruits at Li Xiao. He thought that this little guy was afraid of nothing. The previous battle was so intense, but this little thing didn't wake up. But now that it's up to witness this ghostly battlefield, it didn't even dare to look. At this moment, the armored soldiers had reached Lu Shu's side as he gleefully told the little squirrel, "Hold on tight." But just when Lu Shu was about to lift up his spear and join the fight, the armored soldiers avoided him and went to hack at the others. OMG, Lu Shu felt like he was invincible in this place with his corpse dog. Even these armored soldiers wouldn't attack him? He secretly observed the reactions from the others, but the Heavenly Network practitioners were busy killing and didn't notice. Only Lu Shu was standing on the battlefield feeling lonely. Lu Shu was thinking that the relic was currently in the hands of Li Xiao and that ghost general, and there was no opportunity for him to obtain it. Two Class B experts were fighting, and going over would certainly mean death. And even if he obtained the relic in front of everyone, he'd probably have to hand it over after exiting. But the armored soldiers and the ghost general were out of the palace. Doesn't this mean that I can now go in to look around? If I can't obtain the relic, I might be able to find something good inside. Besides weapons, Lu Shu couldn't believe that there wasn't anything valuable in this huge palace. At this point, Lu Shu started acting weirdly as he slowly made his way towards the palace gate while panting. The Heavenly Network practitioners wouldn't attack him, and neither did the armored soldiers. And so he made his way through the battlefield like this. The practitioners at the side heard Lu Shu's panting and thought that this Daoyuan student was really brave. Lu Shu observed his surroundings carefully and found the right time to quickly leap inside. At this moment, the corpse dog within Lu Shu's celestial map started vibrating. He was stunned, and seeing that there was no one around him, why was the corpse dog so excited? Could it be that Zhao Haiping was looking for revenge? That would be too petty. I didn't even do much. Just what kind of secret method did those spies use to sacrifice their lives to turn Zhao Haiping into this ghostly form, and even giving him the strength of a top-class C? Lu Shu believed that Zhao Haiping previously didn't have the strength of a top-class C. If not, he would have gone back to his country to train and rise up to a Class C expert. Why would he be this desperate? But it can't be certain. Who knew what these spies were thinking about? But the thought that Zhao Haiping might have sneaked into the palace was troubling Lu Shu. Since there weren't any Heavenly Network members around, if Zhao Haiping really attacked me, I could directly use my corpse dog to kill him. Lu Shu might have felt that he didn't offend Zhao Haiping, but Zhao Haiping might not think so. His original plan to assassinate the Heavenly Network practitioners had been foiled. From his perspective, the sacrifice of 7 lives to turn into this ghostly form was so that his strength could be raised to a top-class C and to trap the Heavenly Network here. Although he couldn't do anything to Li Xiao, he could handle the rest of them easily. But this guy wearing his gold chains and watches had to foil his plans by pinpointing his exact location twice. This also caused him to be hit by Li Xiao's punch, which almost took his life. How to not bear a grudge? And Zhao Haiping also noticed a problem while he observed this whole battle, that this weird teenager wasn't attacked by the armored soldiers. A normal bystander wouldn't have noticed this, but Zhao Haiping was different. His attention was on this teenager the whole time. Seeing that Lu Shu had secretly entered the palace, he followed. One reason was to see what kind of strangeness was surrounding this teen, and 2, he wanted to assassinate him first. As to why kill Lu Shu first? It was because Lu Shu, for some unknown reason, could sense his location. Zhao Haiping smirked as he saw Lu Shu entering the palace. His opponent was a Class E while he was a Class C, so what if this teen could see him? The difference in strength was too huge. If only this teen had stayed beside Li Xiao the whole time, then he wouldn't dare to lay his hands on him. But now, this teen was alone and nothing could save him. Lu Shu was secretly checking out the palace. This place was really huge as he made his way from room to room, not planning to let anything go. When he was in the 3rd room, he suddenly received a weird line of distress points. From Lu Xiaoyu's distress, plus 99, Lu Shu. Are you having too much fun to not come back? Lu Shu was surprised. Why were there words behind the usual records? It was like a conversation. He quickly looked through the other records. But they were still the same. Why is Lu Xiaoyu so special? From Lu Xiaoyu's distress, plus 17, can't sleep, Lu Shu you liar, you said you'd be back in a few days, but it's been so many. At this point in time, Lu Shu had received several complaints from Lu Xiaoyu. A smile suddenly developed on his face. Although he had no idea why the records would express Lu Xiaoyu's heartfelt words, these words gave him a warm fuzzy feeling amidst this ghostly place. Someone was looking forward to his return. Estimating the time, it should be dusk outside. Is the young lady losing sleep from missing me? Chapter 160, Terracotta Soldiers, Part 3, After some time, the distress points from Lu Xiaoyu didn't contain the additional words anymore. It seemed like this depended on the amount of distress points. Lu Shu felt that he should go back and investigate. If he found out the reason behind it, wouldn't there be more methods of communication? So under circumstances when they couldn't speak in front of others, wouldn't this mean they could silently devise a plan? Lu Shu was absolutely delighted as he thought of this. Just then, Zhao Haiping noticed that this teen he was tracking was standing in the middle of a room and laughing to himself. Just what was he laughing at? This scene sent chills down Zhao Haiping's spine. What kind of indecent thing possessed him? Is he mentally unstable? Zhao Haiping was worried and decided to kill his opponent immediately, before continuing to kill the Heavenly Network practitioners. He could even let Li Xiao and the Ghost General wear each other down and be the one to reap the final rewards. He suddenly thought that if not for this teen, his plan would have been smoother. What kind of broken luck he had to randomly point and manage to find me? He's just a Class E. Zhao Haiping had absolute confidence that he could kill him on the spot. From AI Sayama's Distress, +32. Lu Shu was still looking at Lu Xiaoyu's complaints when he suddenly saw this line of distress points and immediately felt something not right. His corpse dog was suddenly about to burst out and Lu Shu was immediately on alert. He no longer suppressed the corpse dog and allowed it to do as it wished. The corpse dog's black jade body emitted a dark glow and flew out of Lu Shu's body. Before Lu Shu could turn his head, a booming sound was heard and something behind him seemed to have disappeared. When Zhao Haiping saw a small black jade sword flew out from this supposedly Class E Daoyuan student, he knew that the tables had turned. Sword manipulation could only represent one thing, Class C. How could he be Class C? He started brainstorming the various possibilities but could never think that this teen was hiding such a huge secret. Who's this teenager? But even with sword manipulation, such a technique, Zhao Haiping wasn't afraid. He was a top Class C at that point in time. But in the next moment, this weird-looking sword had taken control over his energy, causing him to be rooted to the spot. The moment the black flying sword touched him, Zhao Haiping felt as though he was a balloon being poked. Gas was leaking. He was leaking. What is this? From AI Sayama's Distress, +1000. After Lu Shu had turned his head, he received this line of distress points. He wasn't fast enough to see Zhao Haiping disappear. A Class C spy had just lost like that. The murdered and the murderer were both unclear of what just happened. Lu Shu was confused. And the corpse dog had now returned to his body. Besides the black soul pearl that was created previously, there was a new ambolite soul pearl. Lu Shu only just realized that. Is the spy dear? He wasn't too sure. But it wasn't the time to think so much as Lu Shu continued to head into the palace. He was also disappointed that he had not found anything. What kind of poor ghost general is this? There's nothing in his house. At a distance away was a pond and Lu Shu even lied down beside the pond, to see if there were fishes or something he could catch to eat back at home. But there was nothing. Lu Shu was frustrated. What's the point of a pond if you don't keep fishes? As he reached the main hall, there were 2 rows of terracotta figure soldiers leading up to the hall gate, which made Lu Shu hesitate. Who would put such things inside their homes? There must be something strange if things kept going wrong. Lu Shu had already searched so many rooms but with no success. If there was a place where he could find something, it would be the main hall. A plaque stating "Strategic Castle" was hung at the gate. This was the plaque commonly used by many generals' palaces for its main hall. Lu Shu carefully studied the layout and saw that he had to go through these soldiers if he wanted to enter the main hall. But no matter how he looked, he felt that these soldiers were protecting the main gate. The appearances of these terracotta soldiers were fiercer than the armored soldiers outside. And the long spears in their hands were of a higher level than his spear. Each of the long spears had an eccentric pattern carved onto it. Lu Shu tested the waters by walking forward 2 steps. As a result, the moment he stepped into the doorway leading up to the main hall, the eyes of these 12 terracotta soldiers lit up simultaneously, giving off a red glow as though they were just revived. He didn't dare to be rash and prepared a spear in each of his hands, ready to engage. His corpse dog also flew out from his chest and stopped right in front of him. The little squirrel peeped its head out of his hair, ready to hide back in at any moment. Right now, Lu Shu's image was as weird as it could get. He looked like a robot clad in jewelry. Stone chips were falling off the terracotta soldiers and were about to revive at any moment to attack Lu Shu. But at the moment Lu Shu's corpse dog flew out, the 12 terracotta soldiers' eyes were dimmed out again. Lu Shu took a deep breath. If he knew that the corpse dog could deal with soul-related stuff this well, he would have come down earlier to begin his killing spree. He figured out the system. It seemed like ghosts with no physical body would be afraid of the mere existence of the corpse dog and avoid Lu Shu at the sight of him, while physical existences such as terracotta soldiers and skeleton horsemen would only be afraid of the corpse dog after it appears. Lu Shu was relieved as he walked forward blatantly with his corpse dog. He turned around after just taking 2 steps to look at these terracotta soldiers. They seemed like dead objects that had never moved before. Lu Shu thought and reached out to take the long spear off a terracotta soldier's hand. Seeing the 12 awesome-looking long spears, Lu Shu would never let such things go. Just when he was removing the spears, the terracotta soldier suddenly tightened its grip a little. From the terracotta soldier's distress, +1+1+1. Lu Shu was displeased and directly pointed the corpse dog at its neck. Only then did the terracotta soldier release its grip. From the terracotta soldier's distress, +1+1+1. Good, good. Lu Shu had a wide grin on his face as he patted the terracotta soldier's shoulder. Very good, you're obedient. From the terracotta soldier's distress, +1+1+1. After Lu Shu removed the first spear, the rest didn't resist at all. Seeing that his spears were almost sold out, it had once again increased to 17. And these 12 terracotta soldiers were constantly contributing to stress points. What a pleasing circumstance.
What does it mean to be happy? 'Cause it looks like we all don't know. Glass half full or empty, and we just putting on the show. Try to look to the heavens to tell us things that we better.